Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to episode 77 of the Sneider Cut. I am your heartbroken host this week, Jeff Sneider, senior film reporter at Collider. But to cheer me up, to get me out of my doldrums, I brought two guests along this week. We have the creators of the sci-fi animated series, Sci-Fi, the network, Matt Bass and Teddy Bressman. Guys, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us. Why are you heartbroken?
Oh, it's stuff with the lady.
Oh,
yeah. It's been quite a journey. So, but you know what? I'm still here. I've taken a licking. I'm still ticking, and now we get to talk about the poll. So before we talk about the show, tell me how you guys met up and linked up as a writing team.
First of all, I feel like we're about to enter the summer of love. So.
Oh God, I hope so.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great summer for you, man. We both worked as assistants for Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, and then they kind of put us together to write our first spec script to 2013 or something that we sold, and then that almost got made, but since then we've kind of just been getting jobs and sort of working our way up, and this is our first series that we've created, so we're pretty stoked to finally have something produced after all these years.
Right, so you guys have been writing together since 2013, really. And this animated series, it's an adult animated series. It is crass to the extreme, which is I think we need to laugh these days. So tell everybody, for the folks at home who don't know about it yet, what is The Pole? Describe it.
The Pole is an animated show that is set on the North Pole, and it follows the drama of the pole the other 364 days a year. So the long lead up to Christmas. Now that is the very basic pitch of the show. But really what we try to do is delve into the kind of Succession, Game of Thrones vibe of the war to wear the suit.
Yeah, we definitely for us, we were thinking that there's been obviously not a lack of Christmas shows over the years, but we were thinking the one thing that hasn't necessarily been done is examining what it's the rest of the year, and I think that that gave us a pretty fun sort of entree into a more two-layered political satire about what it takes to run a government, essentially, on a very local level. So it's kind of it's an interesting show, I think, because it really hopefully exists on two levels. It's super filthy, but it's also hopefully in some ways resonant with some of the things that are going on in America right now. Did
you guys grow up celebrating Christmas, or either of you Jewish? Or
we're Jewish, man.
We're Jewish,
yeah. Sure. Yeah.
I was what leads two Jews to create a show about Santa Claus?
Absolutely. Well, that was one of the things when we at the very beginning of creation of the show was we'd never really seen an R-rated Santa. You've seen Bad Santa, but Bad Santa is not about Santa Claus. It's about a guy, dressed as a mall Santa. But no one's really crossed that line. And, Fat Man kind of did it recently. But again, while it was R-rated for violence, it wasn't R-rated the Santa character was, pretty much, down the middle, a little grizzled because of, that man whose name shall not be spoken.
Right.
But for us, it was it takes two Jews to really upend the myth of Santa Claus.
Yeah, we don't have any positive associations with Christmas, so there's nothing to be there's no pedestal for us.
And what's crazy is when we first went around pitching the show, we discovered a lot of people hold Santa with such high regard. Santa can't have an affair. Santa can't do drugs. And it's Santa's not real. Right. We can be whatever we want him to be.
I mean, as a Jew myself, I sort of grew up envious of the kids who celebrated Christmas.
For sure.
I always wanted to be a part of that, and I do like that this show is coming out like outside of the holiday corridor.
Yeah,
You just get bombarded with the holiday stuff around November, December. I like that when this is coming out. Well, by the way, what is the date for the folks at home?
it premiered like last week, and it's every Wednesday night on Sci-Fi for the next like 4 weeks, or it's like a 6 episode season. But yeah, I mean, basically what we were trying to do, especially in the pilot, is like the first like real scene, it takes place on Christmas Eve, and then I mean, who the fuck knows how many seasons we're gonna get of this show, but like our goal is to basically never have Christmas in the show except for maybe the series finale.
I like that. That's clever.
Yeah, but it's like who knows? Yeah.
I mean, talk to me about assembling the voice cast, because you got a bunch of like SNL veterans and like Jillian Bell's hilarious. Walk us through the cast and how they came to be.
Yeah, we got really lucky with the cast. It all just kind of fell into place. Starting with Bobby, one of the challenges again is like, we're going to upend the myth of Santa in a pretty aggressive way, and who's comfortable doing that. And Teddy was watching the movie Sisters one night, and he sends me a text. He's like, Bobby Monahan on cocaine is fucking incredible. And we're like, all right, let's get that guy.
I do remember that
because it's like there's like, I feel like there's that scene in Boogie Nights like where like with John C. Reilly and Wahlberg, and like there's not, other than that, like that many hilarious cocaine scenes in like the canon of film history. And like Bobby really did it in Sisters. Like I like that movie, but that performance was like the thing that stayed with me over the years. So yeah, and then like, I mean, Jillian is someone that we've always had like incredible respect for. Like, I think especially when we were starting out, like, I mean, a couple of our scripts, we like just wrote like Jillian as the character name, because like we always kind of like wrote for her voice. So getting to write for her here was for me like an incredibly fulfilling experience, because also like we give Gretchen, like in my opinion, the most complicated dialogue, and she just really crushed it. And also she sort of like in her interpretation of just the leader of the Nice Union, this little elf Ebba that she also plays, like she just like came at it with a certain like Karen style voice that like made us be like, fuck, we got to write this character like into the series in like a impactful way. And like that character ultimately becomes an enormous player in like the battle for the North Pole. Tim Simons is like, I've been friends with him for a really long time, and I've like been dying to work with him over the years. And he was the first person that signed up to do it. And like, I think that he commands so much respect in the comedy community that like that immediately allowed us to like have like a little bit of like initial credibility as we were going out to cast. And we're also working on a movie with Colin Jost.
Right.
He plays like he plays like the news reporter, which is kind of like somewhat meta take on Weekend Update, though I'm not sure what the perspective is necessarily. But when we showed him like a clip of his character doing cocaine, he was also in immediately. So I guess cocaine is a powerful drug. that's how the cast.
Well, it's so funny because we were writing with him one day, and he was like, if you need me for anything, like I'd love to do it. Let's like let me know. And we're like, yeah, we'll probably take you up on that offer. And then we left his house, and we're like, we have to take him up on that offer. Like, let's fucking get him.
Exactly. If he gives you that opening, you got to take it.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you guys think adult animation is sort of having this moment in the marketplace right now? Because it does seem like everybody's trying to develop in that mature direction.
I mean, for me, like there was two things about it. I think like it was pretty insane making the show during the pandemic, because like we really like were in production exclusively during like shelter at home and quarantine. So like it was like in some ways it was like I feel grateful that we were working on the show this year because like it gave us like a direction for the year in a sense. But I think like from a creative standpoint, like I think that for us, and it's kind of like speaks to what we were talking about a second ago, like in terms of like the ability to like write on two levels at the same time, like you really can balance like I think more out there and comedy with like a level of like a level of either social commentary or like I think about the way BoJack kind of vacillated between like incredibly funny scenes and then like pretty depressing but like insightful character work. And I think that because you can go so wild with the humor and like I think that allows you to sort of like have flexibility with storytelling in a way that I personally like really found fulfilling and challenging at the same time, which was cool.
I mean,
yeah, because like Rick and Morty doesn't work as live action, right? And you get just like the most insane action set pieces, the most insane out there comedy, but like some of those episodes are just deep, you know, and the subject matter is incredible. And then say for, you know, like a movie like Sausage Party, which is something that we kind of were around when Seth and Evan kind of birthed that idea of, you know, that juxtaposition between here's a cute image and here's our R-rated style of comedy. You know, and like that movie was able to tell, you know, a more meaningful journey about what is life and the meaning behind all of that,
right.
While also having an orgy with hot dogs and burger buns. And again, like you can't do that in live action.
For sure. I mean, I imagine it's I'm imagining it's like as a tricky transition, but also a freeing one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because like one of the things we talked about is, again, like the myth of Santa. Like I think the subjects matter that we have in the show and the line we cross with some of these iconic characters, it would be much harder to do in live action. Obviously you can't have walking talking reindeer in live action, but even like that aside, just I feel like if we had Santa doing cocaine, if it was like real, if it was actually Bobby Moynihan live in person doing cocaine, I think people would take more offense to that. And so you get that leeway in animation.
Sure. What do you guys think is the future of comedy these days? Because I noticed at the studios, they're not making the Seth Rogen, James Franco movies or the Will Ferrell movies that they used to. And honestly, it worries me. And I don't know if those movies are going to make their way to the theatrical marketplace going forward, or if they're just going to be streaming fodder. So like, what do you guys make of where comedy sort of stands today and where it's going?
I think that there is like an opportunity right now, and I am very hopeful because the movie that we're writing with Colin right now, I think like fits into this box. But like, I think that like from in terms of the future of comedy, like the most important element for like its longevity is recognizing tone, and I think that like coming out of the pandemic, I really do think that people are going to be craving like more classic comedies that maybe like we sort of were influenced by when we were coming up, and I think that like there is like an opportunity, I think, for theatrical big comedies like Old School, like Knocked Up, that haven't been that have kind of not like been released recently. But I do think that the idea of like knowing what you're going to get tonally and like having this like window where I think that like people are maybe sick of like incredibly depressing like true crime documentaries or like the things we've all been watching during this fucking pandemic. Like I think that like right now in particular is a unique time where I think people are gonna have an appetite to go to actually show out for theatrical releases for like bigger movies like that. So, I mean, I might just be like optimistic, but I do think that that the next couple of years could be like a inflection point for the better. Though, I mean, who knows?
And like as someone who tracks this development stuff, it does feel like Worst Man is one of the few sort of big comedies that are being developed at the studios these days. I mean, they do action comedies or supernatural comedies, but just a straight, we're here to make you laugh for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's just few and far between.
And it's a balls to the wall kind of comedy, and it's been interesting, to write it obviously in today's climate, and our focus, there's been passes of that script where there's been a larger meaning, a larger context within society. Why make this movie now? Blah blah blah. And we've just like slowly been stripping that away, and just like, this is a story about the friendship of Pete Davidson and Colin Jost. So basically, the movie is Colin is getting married to Pete's sister. Pete therefore is the brother-in-law, and it's like, Pete's the worst man. How does he ruin the wedding? Very basic, very clean, and it's just all comedy. It's just like putting these two guys together and letting them make magic, and hopefully we can get other people from the SNL cast or their close friends just to like really capture on that kind of shorthand they have, which is obviously what Judd and Seth and Adam McKay, all those guys did so well. We feel like we can kind of replicate it and just use just pure comedic energy to kind of really drive the film.
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to that one. I'm curious how did like the WGA's battle with the agencies affect you guys at all? Did it? Were you able to just go about and do your thing, or was it like a weird time?
We got kind of lucky.
Yeah, we kind of like we really have been working on it. It kind of coincided with like us getting into TV a little bit more, and we sort of like got we sold this, and we've been working on that for like a year, and then we staffed on this upcoming Hulu show called Pam and Tommy, which Seth is in, which is going to be awesome, and then we just finished working on Miracle Workers, which is also like a childhood dream of mine, because I was obsessed with the game The Oregon Trail and the season on the Oregon Trail. So I think we sort of been around for a while, that I think at this juncture in our career, a lot of our jobs come from like the relationships that we've built. So it didn't affect us as much, but I think that might be a unique experience, honestly. I think that everyone kind of had a different experience with this, but I do get the sense that writers are pretty happy to be back with their agents and everything, but that's what you think. I don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a weird thing, because we have such a positive relationship with our agents, and to like awkwardly have to call them up one day and email them and be like, I guess you're fired, but we still like you. And like throughout the pandemic, we're still texting with them, and how's family?
Not about work stuff though.
Yeah, right. Not about work stuff. Yeah. Purely family. How's the kid? But yeah, I mean, like Tay said, like we were lucky in that we entered the Pam and Tommy room right as it was happening, so we had that job. The Colin job had already been sold, I believe, or at least it was in the works. So technically, our agents were able to help close.
We sold that movie a while ago.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, we sold that before Pam and Tommy.
That's a long time.
Start writing faster.
Yeah, so it's like like we already had everything that we've been working on had already been in the pipeline, and we just didn't have the bandwidth to take on new work. So,
Gotcha.
It sucked. I couldn't call them up and ask for tickets to a sporting event, but then eventually the sporting events closed down. So,
What are like some of the cool projects that you guys have been tapped to pitch on? I mean, maybe gigs that you didn't get, but was there any experience where it's like, I can't believe I'm in the room, like even pitching an idea for this franchise or remake, reboot, whatever it is?
I think one comes to mind was the Hardy Men.
Nice.
Which was the Hardy Boys now grown up. And it's an idea that had been around for a very long time. And I think like Tom Cruise and Ben Stiller at one point were attached to it. And then it fell apart. And then they brought people in to pitch. And we pitched like the most insane, crazy, like weird sci-fi version of that. And they were like, we love it, but we just can't make this. And so that was kind of a bummer, but it was really funny. Just like, we like went to the bookstore and we bought a bunch of Hardy Boys and we really studied the deep canon. Yeah.
I think that like one of the I definitely have some of those in my room right now. Maybe that's the one. I mean, they all vaguely sound the same. It's like like there's always like a lantern on the cover.
There we go.
Yeah.
The mysterious caravan.
But we were like, yeah, I mean, like one of the things that we try to do, which when we pitch on stuff, is like we sort of have our take and like our version of the movie that we would be very excited to write. Because like I think that like over the years, when we've gone wrong, like we've done a couple jobs where we've like not really had a vision for what the movie could be, and it gets like it's the development process in those situations become sort of like a push and pull. So like our style now is just to kind of break what general version we would want to write for a movie, and then just like go for it. And if we get hired, great, and if not, no. But for that one, like it was like I think it was like we had like magical realism, and like the item that they found was like gave one of the Hardy Boys like magical powers. Like, it was sort of like a funny. Yeah, damn.
But it also had like
got away.
It had like
I haven't thought about that in a couple of years.
It had a real heart to it though, because it was like a thing of like like it was like they wanted R-rated, and it was like they like you meet one of them and he's like a shitty CIA agent, and the other one is like a shitty PI, and it's like their lives have been fucked up because when you think about it, like. And this was our approach. Their dad had them like solving crimes when they were 14 years old. Like, what does that do to a child, right? Kind of the same way of like, if a parent forces their kid into like acting, like as we've seen on page 6, it doesn't work out that well for these people. And so it's kind of like, where would these people be 30 years later? They would be messed up and they would have serious psychological issues and they would have daddy issues. And it's like their dad disappeared, and like over the years, they like tracked him, like they tracked down him. I believe he was passed. And it was just like them coming to terms with what it means to be brothers, what their dad really intended for them. And there was like a real like heart to it that we just absolutely loved. And we still carry a flame for that project.
I hope they circle back and make that one, because I've been following that in development for ages, and that always sounded fun. Did you guys manage to see the Suicide Squad trailer that went up an hour ago before you came on?
I have not yet.
No.
How does it look?
I mean, it looks like a James Gunn movie. It looks pretty wild.
I'm still trying to work my way through the Sneider Cut, speaking of Justice League. I'm on like day 5. I'm getting there.
You're doing like 20 minutes a day?
Yeah.
Does it feel improved to you? Are you liking it?
I don't know, because I don't remember the first one that well. So it's like a weird deja vu experience, because there's scenes that are kind of the same. I'm like, have I seen this before? Where have I seen this? Was this in Batman versus Superman? I don't understand this.
Yeah.
It seems good so far. I mean, there's a lot of slow-mo that had you removed it, it still would have been epic, and it would have been 2 hours.
Right, exactly. What was like the best thing that you guys watched or read during this pandemic? Any shows, movies, books?
Bridgerton.
Bridgerton.
Been on a Bridgerton kick. I love Dave so much.
Yes. Yes.
I thought that was I was obsessed with that show. I thought Devs was pretty tight too, but no one gave it any love. I mean, I think you've like opened a Pandora's box, and I could like literally list you now like 40 series that I've loved over the last year. But yeah, I really thought Never Have I Ever was incredible too. Like that, there were some shows that like came out early pandemic that I feel like people have forgotten about that were amazing, but like that show was great. Fuck.
Yeah, what was the Tiger
King?
Tiger King.
That was like all the
nostalgic for that at this point.
I know.
It's like that was like when I was like drinking heavily and like having the time of my life. Like
last spring.
What else was there? What was your favorite? What got you through pandemic?
Oh geez. I mean, I love that 4th season of Fargo with Chris Rock. I thought that was really good.
I haven't seen that yet. It's on my list.
I gotta watch that.
I gotta get your predictions. Next week features a battle of heavyweights between Godzilla and Kong. Who wins? Who is going to win this epic showdown?
I think King Kong.
Yeah, for sure, man. He's got heart.
He's got heart. Yeah, he was torn from the jungle and brought to America, and he's angry now, and he's gonna fucking fight back, and he's gonna destroy Godzilla.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Plus, he has thumbs. I feel like at some point there's an advantage to having thumbs.
All right,
that's ultimately what it's going to come down to.
So the poll airs on Wednesday nights. I mean, you guys are still working on the Worst Man script with Colin. Is there anything else in the pipeline, or any idea what else is coming next?
We're slowly developing a movie with Point Grey and Party Over Here, which we gotta get. We're gonna work on that right after this, so we'll hopefully we'll be able to pitch that soon. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's been like I think that we're hoping that we get to make Worst Man. But yeah, definitely check out Pam and Tommy because that show is gonna be incredible. And yeah, I mean, like I am under the impression that every single person played Oregon Trail for hours, like when they were a kid, but absolutely. I don't know if that's true. But I do. We're really good friends with the showrunners of this season, these Robert Patnick and Dan Merck, and they did a great job. Like that to me, that show was pretty interesting because like it really. I don't think people understand how challenging it is to like establish worlds with entirely new characterizations every season. And I think that show deserves more credit for what they do, and hopefully this season they really get that credit because like those guys have done a great job with the season. So
cool.
It's actually coming off of creating our own show. It's actually incredibly stupid what they do. Is having to the hardest part is developing the characters, and they have to do it every single time from scratch. They do it, which is.
Go ahead. I didn't
No. I was just giving them kudos and respect.
Before I let you go and get into the news part of this podcast, our top story this week is about your old boss. Seth Rogen has been cast in Steven Spielberg's new movie as Steven's favorite uncle. What do you make of this? Seth Rogen working with Steven Spielberg.
Long overdue.
It's an inevitability all along, huh?
Yes.
I can definitely see him as a nebbishy Jewish uncle.
Is it like an Uncle Buck type of movie?
I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be. I don't think anybody is at this point, but it's going to explore Steven's childhood.
That is going to be incredible.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
I feel like Steven Spielberg has like a wacky, like comedic side to him that has not been explored yet, and I hope that is what this movie is.
I hope so too. It's all about casting those young leads. Guys, thank you so much for joining the show. The poll Wednesday nights, Matt Bass, Teddy Bressman. Have a wonderful weekend, guys.
Oh, man.
Thanks a lot, dude. Good tidings to all.
Yeah. Peace.
All right. Peace, man.
All right, there you go. The guys from the poll. And now I've got to fit an hour-long show into the remaining half-hour runtime. So here we go. As we discuss, Seth Rogen cast as Steven Spielberg's uncle in his untitled coming-of-age movie. It's going to be him and Michelle Williams. So it's a Take This Waltz reunion of sorts. Deadline broke this story. It was surprising. I mean, not that I don't like. I think Rogen is a pretty good actor. He doesn't really get the credit that he deserves. I thought he was excellent in Steve Jobs as Steve Wozniak. So I want to see Rogen taking more of these kinds of roles. I don't know if this is going to end up being like the, comedic, the guy who they bring in to deliver some humor and some heart, or if this is going to be a little bit more of a dramatic part. I don't know what the tone of the movie is going to be yet. But the idea of Seth working with Steven is awesome. So congratulations to him. As I mentioned in that interview, we didn't get to discuss it, but now we're going to. The Suicide Squad trailer has arrived. It is 3 minutes long and introduces a pretty fantastic cast. I mean, especially that last graphic where it's just like name after name after name after name. It's unbelievable. And I do like that, like they're adding some names of maybe some, lesser known actors, but it shows the diversity of the cast. Like, okay, these guys don't have the A-list name of like an Idris Elba or Sylvester Stallone, but we still want to, make clear that these people are in the movie and have significant roles. So, I just thought it was interesting the way that they kind of threw everybody in there at the end rather than just the stars. It looked good. I mean, I like what James Gunn does. I think he's a fun filmmaker. The tone, there were a lot of jokes. If you look back at like the original Suicide Squad trailer to like the 2016 movie or whatever, it's a lot more like heavy handed and serious. And so the tone here definitely not that like the stakes aren't high, because they're life and death, as the taglines on the 30 character posters we got today say, don't get too attached. And I like that this movie can kind of keep you on your toes a little bit, although Harley Quinn and Peacemaker and Idris Elba's Bloodshot character, they're not going anywhere. Is it Bloodshot? I can't keep it straight. Deadshot, Bloodshot, I don't know. I mean, I'm really looking forward to like David Dastmalchian's character. I think Michael Rooker looks like a lot of fun in this. Still feels like maybe a bit of a villain issue, like just like the first film had with Cara Delevingne and even the Joker, who was barely in it. Like, who is the villain in this? Is it just a kaiju? Like, I mean, I know that, and kaiju just made me think of like Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Like, I don't know. So I didn't love the trailer. Like, I loved the first two Suicide Squad trailers, which were, I Started a Joke, which I think is one of the fucking best trailers I've ever seen, and then the Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. That's what they used. I've only seen the new Suicide Squad trailer once, so maybe after this podcast I'll check it out again, kind of go through it with a fine-tooth comb, a magnifying glass to see what I see. But it definitely looks like we're starved for these kinds of movies. Let's be serious. Like, just a big ensemble, a lot of action, people dying, some good one-liners. Like, I'm pumped to see this movie, and hopefully I get a chance to see it on the big screen. I know it's going to be a release day and date on HBO Max, and I think that while the vaccines are opening up, particularly in April and May, I don't know if everyone will be vaccinated by August or whenever this thing is supposed to come out. So I think it is nice to have that option, at least for a little while longer, to watch this movie in your home. But yeah, I want to see it on the biggest screen possible with a bunch of crazy DC fans who are just, stoked to be there. Speaking of the DC universe, Ann Sarnoff made it clear in her follow-up interviews regarding Zack Snyder's Justice League that there will be no Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. David Ayer actually tweeted why, with a cute little emoji, which I had a good laugh picturing him try to find which emoji do I want to put next to this why tweet. David, you know why. I mean, really, it's just because you don't have the fan base that I think Zack Snyder does, the devoted fan base. Because if you did, those fans could mobilize and demand an Ayer cut. Maybe it's just a matter of like, well, we already have a new Suicide Squad, so I don't want to like create confusion in the marketplace by doing a new cut of the old Suicide Squad, particularly all the, the new cast and everything. I mean, if there was like a new Justice League or something like that was going to be coming out in a few months, I don't think Warner Brothers and HBO Max would have done this Zack Snyder's Justice League cut. But that there obviously there aren't any plans to continue the Justice League as far as I know. And a lot of people were like, oh, now they're going to have to continue the Snyderverse after the success of this. I mean, I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I also think that like only like 1.8 million people or so watched the Sneider Cut I don't even know if that's in its entirety. It might have just been like 5 minutes of the Sneider Cut as a statistic. As you just heard, with Matt Bass, saying like this, I'm on day 5. Like you just have to watch it in chunks because it is a lot unless you're one of those fans who like has an associate who considers themselves an associate producer, and watched it back to back, which, God bless Mike Kalinowski on the Schmodown, great dude. But like he said, he watched that movie back to back. I say we need to investigate people like Kalinowski. Like anyone who's watching this movie back to back has totally lost their mind or just has absolutely nothing better to do. But whatever. Kalinowski, I love you. Elsewhere in the DC universe, this was another story that had a little raised some eyebrows. Okay, so Emerald Fennell, who is up for like 3 Oscars, for Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, which she's tipped to win, and Best Picture for Promising Young Woman. She has been tapped to write the Zatanna movie. Now, good for Emerald Fennell. If this is what she wants to do, and it sounded like this deal has, been closed for a while according to Deadline, but if this is what she wanted to do, by all means, more power to it. You've earned the right to do whatever you want. Like between her work on Killing Eve and Promising Young Woman, this woman has a super bright future, and I'm very excited about it. I think she's wildly talented. In my article though, I was like, is this really what we want from Emerald Fennell? Like it may be what she wants, and that's great, but is it what we want? Is it what I want? No. I had hoped that it would be A24 taps Emerald to, write an original movie, based on her original screenplay. Like I want more originals from someone who can actually do them. I just feel like, not that anybody can come in and write a comic book movie, because I don't think that that's true. But I just hate, Guy Lodge tweeted that getting a superhero movie seems to be the only career promotion that cinema has to offer, that Hollywood at least has to offer. And he's not wrong. I just don't understand this impulse that we have where there's a great new artist on the scene. Hey, how quickly can we get them to make a comic book movie with superheroes? That can't be the way that this industry thinks. I do not want our best and brightest voices penning B-list superhero movies, okay? And I don't know about Zatanna. I've never read a comic. I don't know. I only know that she's B-list because I know she's not A-list. She's not Superman or Wonder Woman or Batman over there on DC. I know the character works, closely with the Justice League or whatever, but come on. It's a B-list property. And so, I wrote something to the effect of someone like Catherine Bigelow, who you can bet has been offered countless comic book movies over the years, right? She never goes the easy route. She hasn't really sold out, and she hasn't really done those kind of big paycheck. She hasn't taken those big paycheck superhero jobs. And so, I'm just so impressed with the fact that Catherine Bigelow knows herself as an artist and turns down those easy paychecks. And it's been a while since Detroit came out, maybe because that movie I didn't like. I thought it was bad. And maybe she has struggled to follow up Detroit or get her next project off the ground. We don't even know what it is. I also like that Catherine gives her time to sort of find it, right? I mean, some people just love to work. I don't care what I'm writing. I want to be writing. And that's fine. People are different. But so anyways, there were some responses to that hot take on the situation. And I, one reader, she had a good point. I didn't want to block her on the basis of what she was really saying. But here's why I did block her. Because she goes, oh, great. Now here's a man, weighing in on a woman's career opportunities. That is my job, okay? That's the fucking job. A man gets a job, a woman gets a job. I got to weigh in on it. A white person, a black person, it doesn't matter. So I don't need Twitter followers being like, you can say, fine, I don't like your opinion, Jeff, or the way that you phrased your opinion. But when you come at me and you're like, well, you're a man, you're not even allowed a fucking opinion on this. That's not how it works. Okay? We can't just have women weighing in on women, female filmmakers. We can't have men just weighing in on writing about male filmmakers and their choices. So that's why she got the block. I'm not going to stand for it. I don't care anymore. I don't care if I go from 33,000 followers to 100 followers, okay? Because the 40 people who are there on InSneider Plus, they want to be there. So that is what ticked me off about that response to that. And I think it's a totally valid take that I have. Yeah, I don't want Emerald Fennell to write a Zatanna movie. I think she's super talented, and I want to see something else from her. Give Zatanna to who gives a shit, because who gives a shit about that character? Not me. I don't tell me what I am and am not allowed to have an opinion on. That's all I'm saying. We'll move on from that, and we'll talk about all the Disney moves, right? Black Widow got moved from May to July, because May is still too early. We're not going to be ready in 5 weeks. Disney left Cruella where it is at the end of May, so Memorial Day is still sort of kicking off the big movies returning to theaters kind of thing. Of course, Cruella and Black Widow, which is now slated to open in July, they will be available day and date on Disney Plus as well. Now, they're not going to be free. They're not going to be available at no additional charge like the HBO Max stuff. They will be behind the Premier Access paywall, which is like a $30 price point, basically. And Disney also announced that Luca, Pixar's movie, is going to be going to Disney Plus only. That's not going to get a theatrical release outside of the United States. In the United States. Outside of the United States, it will get a theatrical release. Domestically, though, it's only going to be on Disney Plus, and it will be available at no additional. I wouldn't want to say free, because you still have to subscribe to that, but at no additional charge, just like Soul. So I think that what you're seeing Disney doing, and I don't know if it was maybe David Poland who wrote about this, but they're triangulating the sort of data points for Disney Plus and the Premier Access, and what they can expect someone to spend that extra $30 on. Because you've got a Marvel movie, right? That's like a must-see. And then you're going to have a live-action Disney fairy tale, essentially, right? Or a live-action movie based on a popular animated film. That's half of Disney's slate, is those kinds of movies, whether it's Beauty and the Beast and Cinderella or whatever. So that's Cruella. And then you have, Pixar's, a new Pixar movie that also is not... The cast isn't Jamie Foxx on this one, right? It's it is Jack Dylan Grazer and Jacob Tremblay. So you don't have to worry really about pissing off the talent by just sending that straight to Disney Plus. Not that Jamie Foxx was pissed. I mean, he understood the situation in December where theaters just weren't open. But I think you're going to still continue to see a lot of experimentation, and then we still have to gauge what the appetite is for people to return to theaters, right? Because you can say, hey, we're open and people will come back, but how many people, right? And when and for what? Will they just come in, to watch some stupid movie? Are they only coming for the big movies? So that, the movies that sort of feel like they were made for the big screen? Will people come back to the theaters, and particularly older audiences for dramas and stuff like that, indies? So I think, again, right now it's just sort of a data collection period, and that's why you're seeing a lot of flexibility. Yeah. A lot of ghost action with the video games this week. Cary Fukunaga, or Cary Joji Fukunaga, signing on to do Tokyo Ghost for Legendary, Chad Stahelski doing Ghosts of Tsushima for Sony. I didn't really play either of these games. I think both of these guys are pretty talented, with respect to what they do best. Like Chad Stahelski is a great action director, obviously. And Cary Fukunaga is one of the better filmmakers that we have working today. I think he's just a really smart guy. And so if he sees something in Tokyo Ghost that he thinks he could do, make something special out of it, like, I'm not going to complain about these guys doing video game movies. I'm just not familiar with the games. Sorry, I'm picking up this video thing. Actually, I shouldn't, because Thad's going to yell at me. Okay, packages. Apple got the greatest beer run ever. This was a Skydance project. It was going to star Dylan O'Brien and Viggo Mortensen. It's from Peter Farrelly, so it was going to be a Green Book reunion. Not anymore. They're out. They got upgraded in a sense. So Zac Efron is now taking over the part that Dylan O'Brien was going to play. I imagine Russell Crowe is taking over the part that Viggo Mortensen was going to play. And I guess they've got Bill Murray circling this one, who worked with Peter on Kingpin. I still think this is a really interesting story. It's a true story. It's about a guy, from New York whose buddies were fighting in the war in Vietnam, and he was just like drinking at his bar one day, and I'm pretty sure that Bill Murray will be the bartender who sort of gives him the idea. But he's like, hey, best thing you can do is just like get your buddies a cold brew in the middle of all this, and that's exactly what Zac Efron does. He goes off to Vietnam. I think he links up with a war reporter, like a Time correspondent played by Russell Crowe, or, who I imagine is Russell Crowe, who sort of, opens his eyes as to what's really going on in Vietnam and the war. But it sounds like a fun movie. Zac Efron doing the most epic beer run. At first, I was wondering, like, was this a matter of Apple wanting bigger names, to finance this project? But I checked with the source, and it seemed like it was just a scheduling thing. I don't know what the scheduling is, like what would make Viggo and Dylan drop out of this movie. What? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I buy the excuse, but that is the answer, that they had scheduling issues. Netflix won a hot package from A24 that we talked about last week with Steven Yeun and Ali Wong. We found out that it's called Beef. And I didn't see this coming, because when you say Steven Yeun, Ali Wong, half-hour sort of limited series, I would have figured they're married and kids are a handful, or some sort of romantic thing, and that's not what Beef is. It sounds like it's about two people who are involved in a road rage incident who become all consumed by it. That's a great log line. Not who I maybe would have imagined for something like that, but sign me up. It sounds really interesting. I'm not surprised Netflix won that package. MGM took Combat Control with Jake Gyllenhaal starring and Sam Hargrave directing. That's the Extraction director. That sounds like an interesting package as well. Was there any other big package news? Yeah, I guess not. I guess those were kind of the big ones. Okay, this one I had thoughts on. Matthew McConaughey coming back for A Time for Mercy, a limited series on HBO, in which he's going to reprise his role as Jake Brigance from A Time to Kill. A Time to Kill is my favorite John Grisham movie. I love it. I think it's super rewatchable. I think he's magnetic in it. Like, it is a true, like, this guy is a movie star turn. And yeah, like, I wonder if that means, like, we're going to get Ashley Judd back. I think that would kind of be interesting. Maybe they've been divorced. I don't know. Ashley Judd is not what she was in the mid 90s. She's lucky to be alive. Actually, they like pulled her out of the jungle a few months ago. She like broke her leg or something. But I think this is like one of McConaughey's signature characters in a sense. And I just love these kinds of legal dramas. Like I dig Maddie returning to, I call him Maddie. I dig him returning to HBO for this. A bunch of like comic book casting stuff. Ron Livingston in for Billy Crudup in The Flash. He's going to be playing The Flash's dad. I also love the little boy that they got to play young Barry Allen in that. You can check out a photo of him on In Snyder Plus. Ron Livingston, not exactly the same acting chops as Billy Crudup, but can he sit in a jail cell? I mean, I don't know where the hell Billy Crudup, that character, Barry Allen's father, if he's still going to be in jail or if he's going to be running around outside of the prison in this movie. But yeah, I don't know. It's fine. I do like Ron Livingston. He doesn't really get the respect he deserves. I just think it's tough. Anyone's going to have a tough time sort of filling Billy Crudup's shoes. That's just in name only, because as far as the performance, we've just seen little snippets of it in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Basically, like, it's not like he's put his mark on that character. I think it was totally fine to recast him. I do wonder why Billy Crudup dropped out there. Like, was it just a matter of he's tied to the morning show and can't get away, or was he like, this wasn't really what I signed up for? The parts changed, the movies changed, the directors changed, blah, blah, blah. Helen Mirren, moving from Fast and Furious franchise to Shazam, Fury of the Gods, in which she's going to play the villain Hespera. Sure, Helen Mirren, great actress. It's a win for Shazam, Fury of the Gods. Do I think she's going to look silly up there? Probably. But again, these actors got to eat. They've got grandkids and summer homes to pay for. So you know what, Helen Mirren, do your fucking thing, girl. Pierce Brosnan is another one, cast as Dr. Fate in Black Adam. Sure, Pierce Brosnan. He's probably just like relieved to not be, in some direct-to-video crap. Quite frankly, that's sort of where Pierce's career has been for a little while. He is in False Positive, that Hulu horror movie that A24 produced. I am looking forward to that. Maybe we see a little Pierce Brosnan renaissance of sorts. It sounds like just the fact that, James Bond working with The Rock. I'm still a little skeptical about Black Adam, but that's DC for you. You always got to approach it with just a little bit of skepticism, right? Okay, Halle Berry is joining Mark Wahlberg in Our Man from Jersey. Still doesn't have a director. Unusual to see Halle Berry sign on to a movie without a director, but clearly the premise speaks to her. Wahlberg's playing like a blue-collar James Bond in that. Wahlberg also signed on to star in Stew, which I think was known as like Father Stew, and I think it's like about a priest and overseeing like a boxer or something. I don't know. Apparently it's been a big project for Mark Wahlberg, who I like it that, he's mixing up the Our Man from Jerseys and the Spencer Confidentials with, stuff like this, and Joe Bell, which is still awaiting release. That's where like he walks across the country after his, to get the word out about bullying. Casting stuff. Forrest Whitaker joining Tom Hardy's movie Havoc from Gareth Evans. I don't know what the role is going to be there, if he's going to be the bad guy or not. Because, remember, wasn't Forrest Whitaker being eyed for like a villain in The Crow or something like that? I wonder if I don't know. Yeah, that could be interesting, depending on the role there. Daniel Radcliffe signing on to play the villain in Lost City of D. I like that. I like the idea of Harry Potter as a villain in a movie with, stars that people might actually see, rather than, whatever the hell Daniel Radcliffe's been up to the last few years. Andy Garcia in Father of the Bride. I forget if we mentioned this last week. Listen, I really like Andy Garcia, always have. And this is a Latinx remake, a reboot of Father of the Bride. I think the family is going to be Cuban American. You Google Cuban movie stars, it's not a long list. Andy Garcia is probably at the top of it, which is probably how he got this gig. But this feels like Grandfather of the Bride to me. I would have cast Andy Garcia as like the father of the bride in like 1995 or something. So a bit of an unusual choice, but I also, if they wanted to stay true to the way the character's written, I don't know what other options they really had. Derek Delgadio cast in Steven Soderbergh's Kimi. Odd. He's not an actor, but I think what we've learned basically is that there's no such thing as, there are actors, there's capital A actors, but it's like anybody can be an actor, right? Can't they? I always like what like David Spade had to say about acting. Like it's not hard, Jennifer Hudson, who's trains her whole life to be a singer on American Idol, comes in like 8th place on that competition, goes and does her first movie, and wins an Oscar for it. Or Quivanjane Wallace, 8-year-old girl does her first movie, gets an Oscar nomination over all these veteran performers who've been studying the craft of acting for decades. So I don't know that it's necessarily the hardest thing. I really like Derek Delgadio's presence in his In and of Itself Hulu special. I don't know if he's going to be doing any tricks in this Soderbergh movie or whatever, but sure, okay. Sounds interesting. Beau Burnham, this one was big, cast as Larry Bird in the HBO Untitled series about the Showtime era Lakers. Jason Segel also joined the cast as Lakers assistant coach Paul Westhead. Both tall guys. I mean, I think it'd be weird to have like little short actors in this. I feel like those are both very capable 6-footers. Beau Burnham, I think, is like 6'5". It's like the first thing you notice about the guy. He's just gigantic. Kind of an insult to play Larry Bird. Like, I don't think any actor in Hollywood wants to be cast as Larry Bird. He's not exactly a good-looking guy, and I say that as a Larry Bird fan. That's his book right there, Drive. This is a Celtics household. Larry Bird is the man. He's basketball Jesus. December 7th, his birthday. I celebrate every year. Thank God for Larry. But Beau Burnham, interesting choice for sure. But could be cool. Again, he's 6'5". Larry was 6'9". Like there's not a lot of actors you're gonna get, and it's a small part. It's a Lakers show. The Celtics play the Lakers twice a year. I mean, yeah, he has a friendship with Magic, but I just, it's little small parts that these guys will be populating. But be sure and check out our article with Max Borenstein, the writer of that show, because he sort of talked about how it's his love letter to basketball and to just the to Los Angeles, really, and said it's like structurally it's going to resemble the Crown. So check out that article on Collider.com. This was big news. Evan Peters cast as Jeffrey Dahmer in Monster, the series from Ryan Murphy. I really like that casting. Evan Peters, he kind of has these like serial killer eyes. He's a member of like the Ryan Murphy family and everything. I like the idea of him working with Richard Jenkins, who's going to be playing Dahmer's father. And they got some other interesting actors on that show. But I was definitely looking to see who would be cast as Dahmer. And when they announced Evan Peters, I kind of did a head nod. It's like, yeah, I can see that. I like that a lot. Check out American Animals if you haven't yet, because he's really good. Sony is doing a Bewitched movie, although this one is not going to be, quite the same like goofy rom-com. They may be taking it a bit of a darker direction, possibly. I still don't understand the point of doing this. I mean, okay, yeah, Mission Impossible is the greatest franchise, and that's an old like 60s TV show or whatever, but like maybe WandaVision sort of stoked the flames for the revival of these kinds of shows, but it seems like just a stale title that like today's moviegoers would have no interest in, especially when you don't even have a streaming service to stick it on when it only turns out okay. Like, are people going to go to the theaters for a fucking Bewitched movie? It's a weird development choice. We learned this week that the Oscars will not have a single host. It's sad that they can't get a single host, although the show probably works better with, a variety of personalities. There's also apparently a big pushback on the no Zoom rule, which I'm sure they'll walk back like a dozen other Academy announcements in the last few years. Basically people are like, I can't just fly in someone who's going to quarantine like 10 days ahead of time or even 5 days, and then they can't even go home to, for another 5 or 10 days after the show. So you're paying for these hotel rooms. They are not going to be like Holiday Inn hotel rooms, right? They got to be nice for a hotel room. So it's just like, it's a huge budgetary expense. And if you didn't have to do the quarantines, okay, then you bring in the talent for a night or two, maybe the weekend, 3 nights. But just the fact that you've got quarantines that would have to bookend on either side, all these productions would have to like shut down. If you're talking about all the nominees coming, right? They're all working on other stuff. So now you got to shut down those productions for a week, 2 weeks, maybe even longer. It's just, it's a very expensive decision. I like the idea that they don't want, boring Zoom speeches where you thank your agent or your manager. Like Soderbergh's trying to do something different. I'm glad that he's in charge because I also think that talent will respect him. But yeah, between the personal publicists and the studio executives, I imagine that we will see a reversal on this rule in the coming days. There's some quotes this week about Michael Keaton sort of hedging on the Flash. He was kind of very non-committal. I don't really see him dropping out at this point because they probably have to really retool the script. But I just thought that was interesting that he wasn't like gung-ho to be like, yeah, I can't wait to get back in the bat suit and like have some fun with this character and explore different timelines and stuff. He was just very like, it was just a weird response. I do wonder if something's going on there. 3 more Game of Thrones spinoffs announced: Nymeria, the Sneestake, and Fleabottom. If you want my opinion for it, you're not going to get it because I don't give a shit. Derek Kolstad. I did like 5 articles on Derek Kolstad this week, maybe 4. I've lost track. It was thousands of words. We got updates from him on Splinter Cell, Just Cause, the Hitman series, where Hitman's going to, the first episode at least, he's going to have hair. You're going to see Hitman with a full head of hair. And then at the end, he discovers the barcode and probably ends up shaving his head. Kolstad talked about Falcon and the Winter Soldier and about Nobody. And he's just like super busy. Everybody wants to be in business with Derek Kolstad. So check out everything he had to say on Collider. We had to bid farewell to a few people this week. Last week it was Yaphet Kotto. This week, George Segal. So George Segal. I'm going to say George Segal. And Jessica Walter from Arrested Development. And Larry McMurtry, who won an Oscar for Brokeback Mountain, and Mums, Craig Grant, who played Poet on Oz, and just worked with Soderbergh on his new movie, No Sudden Move. Gonna miss all these folks. I really liked Mums on Oz. Brokeback Mountain, one of the greatest romantic dramas ever written. I mean, it's just a beautiful new movie, and like that, I read that short story by Annie Proulx, and that was some heavy lifting to adapt that. Like that's like a very short story. It's not all on the page there. So Larry McMurtry, Diana Osana did a beautiful job. He also did Lonesome Dove and, Terms of Endearment and The Last Picture Show. So he's been, writing masterworks since like the 70s, if not before. Great writer. Jessica Walter, Lucille Bluth on Arrested Development. She was just always hilarious, always with a drink in her hand and a wink. And, it made me want to watch and play Misty for me, which I've still never seen. So I may have to go back and check that out this weekend. My favorite Jessica Walter movie, which I was not in most of the obituaries, is PCU, where she plays the president of the college going up against, Jeremy Piven and Jon Favreau with the help of David Spade. And then George Segal, that one hurt. So The Goldbergs is the only network sitcom that I watch. And they paid, they did a little in memoriam, a very quick little tribute to him. I imagine that they'll do something for a little bit more extensive after his last episode. But this guy, has been around since the 60s. He was nominated for an Oscar for Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. He was in this, in a ton of movies in the 70s that I really want to go back and check out, like California Split and The Hot Rock. I actually watched Roller Coaster from 1977 this week thanks to Drew McWeeney's Plex. Thank you, Drew. Please subscribe to Drew's newsletter. It was fun. It was like, I think it's a movie that's like kind of ripe for a remake. It's Timothy Bottoms as like a mad bomber who's threatening to blow up these various roller coasters, and George Segal's like the theme park roller coaster inspector who gets caught up in this cat and mouse game with him. That was good. A little long, but it was like a Hitchcock thriller meets a disaster flick. So we're gonna miss all those people. R.I.P. to all 4 of them. Okay, we're coming up on towards the end of the show. I'm gonna try to run through these really quickly. We've got trailers for Stowaway, the Anna Kendrick, Toni Collette space movie. Looked interesting. Separation, William Brent Bell's new horror movie with Rupert Friend, had a couple, good jump scares, some decent horror imagery in that one. Murder, Barry Wynn, which looks like a very tiny, no-budget indie, but I like the premise about like three guys who create an independent board game that's sort of all about like committing a murder and hiding the body. And, then they find themselves with a body on their hands and they kind of have to play the game. And then 4 Good Days, which is a Glenn Close, Mila Kunis addiction drama where Mila is trying to kick heroin, or she's being offered this miracle drug that's going to help her, but she needs to be clean for 4 days if she's going to use it. Looking forward to all of those movies. Reviews this week: Invincible. I wrote a review of Invincible for Collider.com. I gave it a B. I've seen some more negative takes out there on the internet. Listen, as someone who doesn't really like animation and doesn't really like superheroes, I was into it. I will probably finish watching it. It reminded me of just like a Saturday morning cartoon, but albeit one very more, it was a lot more violent than the ones that I remember. But a great voice cast. I really liked like the end of the first episode. I just think, the episodes are just a little long. It's a show that's not quite as radical as Amazon's The Boys, but listen, if you're hard up for superhero content, and I know Invincible was a big comic book, check it out. Check out the first episode or two. It's from Robert Kirkman, who operates Skybound, which owns the Schmodown. So it was kind of weird giving my boss a B this week, but I hope he took it in stride. Nobody is finally coming out this weekend. The Bob Odenkirk movie. Like I said, I was disappointed the first time that I saw Nobody. We went up to New Hampshire with my brothers. I had arranged, to have the link that weekend, and we all watched it late at night. And we were all, pretty fucked up, to be honest. But we were all just kind of a little underwhelmed. And I think part of that was like the villain. Part of it was the third act, because there's like a couple great action sequences in this, right? Ilya Naishuller is really talented behind the camera. Like he's just a kind of like a whiz. I just think he maybe needed a little bit of a stronger script. Having said that, I watched the movie again a second time with my dad, and I liked it. Like I could forgive. My expectations weren't as high the second time, obviously, and I could forgive some of the problems that I had with it, and just sort of sit back and enjoy it. And it's good. Like we've missed this kind of movie, but it's a bravura return from Bob Odenkirk, like you've never seen him before. I watched The Father, which was like it was good, and I think Anthony Hopkins is very deserving of his nomination. But don't try to tell me that's a better performance than Riz Ahmed or, frankly, even Chadwick Boseman. I do not understand that argument. I don't understand. One second, but yeah, The Father, a good movie, but it didn't hit me as I thought it would have emotionally, mainly because you spend most of the running time sort of trying to figure out what is going on. It's a very confusing movie structurally, which, in the end proves to be a smart choice. I think it sort of echoes the what the main character is going through with Alzheimer's or dementia, whatever's going on there. But it just, a little bit too much of a puzzle, to really just give yourself over to the movie and let it, manipulate your emotional strings. I saw Ben David Grabinski's Happily, which was a bit of a disappointment. I thought it started okay, but kind of went off the rails in the second act. The Courier, Benedict Cumberbatch spy movie. I thought Rachel Brosnahan and Jesse Buckley were pretty wasted, and Benedict and his the other lead who's playing like the Russian guy, they were both good. It just, the movie felt like Diet Bridge of Spies, which some people would say felt like Diet Bridge of Spies on its own, Old movies I watched this week: Ghost, The Vanishing, Little Children, Rushmore. Yeah, had a watch a bunch of 90s movies. Although Little Children's not 90s, but yeah, they were all pretty good. All held up really well. I also read TJ Newman's new book, Falling, which doesn't come out until July. I don't know if reviews are embargoed on this thing or not. I read it over the course of 3 days. Probably could have done it in 2 if I wasn't having romantic drama issues, but it was really good. This is the book written by a flight attendant who wrote it like on red-eye flights while all the passengers were asleep. She sold the rights for like $1 million. She sold the film rights for another $1 million to Universal. Don Winslow sent the book to me, the author. He was the one who was like, oh, I've got something that I think you'd really like to read. He'd sent me The Chain a couple years ago from Adrian McKinty, and those are the two guys quoted on the cover of this book following. Here's the story. It is about a pilot, a male pilot, whose family is kidnapped, and basically the terrorists say, you're going to make a choice. You either got to kill, we're either going to kill your family, and you're going to land the plane that you're flying safely, or your family gets to live, and you're going to crash this plane, killing everybody on board. It plays like Speed in the air. It's a very quick read, a real page turner. I don't want to say more for fear of spoiling anything, but it was. I think you're going to see a lot of people reading that book on the beach this summer. I think it's going to be a big hit, and I can't wait to see who Universal gets to direct the thing and who stars in it. But yeah, very nice, debut from T.J. Newman. I wanted to, let's see, a quick mailbag question from Derek Walker. Guys, here's the issue that I'm having with the mailbag stuff. You have to put either mailbag 1 word or mailbag 2 words. I prefer 1 because that's what I search. Put that in the subject line, because if it's anything else in the subject line, I'm just going to lose it. I need to do a better job of maybe checking the Insider Plus DMs or my Facebook Instant Messenger stuff for these questions. But, I just know before the show, I'm always searching my inbox, jeff@collider.com, for the word mailbag. That is the best chance you have of getting a mailbag question read on this show. Anyways, Derek, a couple weeks ago, he asked me, I totally missed it. A couple years ago, it was reported that Michael B. Jordan and director Ryan Coogler were going to be doing a movie together called Wrong Answers, based off the test cheating scandal. Has there been any movement on this movie? Is it dead in the water? I think that's a really good question, Derek. I have not heard anything on Wrong Answer in years. I haven't seen it in like the agency grids that I get my hands on from time to time. It always sounded like a really interesting movie, particularly in the wake of like the college admissions, scandal. I'm surprised that project hasn't sort of heated back up. But on the other hand, Ryan Coogler's been very busy doing Black Panther. So I imagine he just hasn't had the time. Maybe he'll end up handing that project off to a young protege of color of his, or maybe he's just like, let me get Black Panther 2 done and we'll circle back to that. But no, I haven't heard anything. And that's pretty much the show this week. I did want to plug an upcoming episode of Blockbuster Mentality, in which I talk in depth about The Insider for an hour. I love The Insider. Now the cat's totally out of the bag. So look forward to, keep an eye out for that episode, because I love going on that show, and I think we've done some really good episodes there. All right, this show's getting too long. I got to wrap it up. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Pray for my broken little heart. It has just been quite a year. I know it's been a tough year on everybody. We're still here. We're still standing. Hang in there. Keep washing your hands, wearing a mask. Get a vaccination if you can. And I will see you next week. Till then, later.